War I morphed into civil war. The newborn communist state had to defeat its enemies or die. The communists survived this deadly struggle, and the Soviet Union was able to raise its head among the nations. But that was far from the end of communist struggle. Repeated attempts were made to strangle the young country, many instigated or outright supported by the capitalist powers. In those years, the growth and modernization of the Red Army was the lifeblood of the Soviet Union's very survival. By the late 1930s, the Red Army had massively increased its theoretical combat power. But in reality, starting in 1937, communist purges turned against the Soviet military, and tens of thousands of leading officers were arrested and accused of disloyalty to the Soviet state, conspiracy, and even attempted coup. Despite flimsy or sometimes absolutely lacking evidence, thousands were executed. You take the role of Georgy Zhukov, a talented Russian officer who made it through the purges alive, but who now faces a future of unprecedented danger and difficulty. You must strike a precarious balance between Stalin's will and Soviet soldiers' lives. Above all else, you must ensure motherland's survival against all enemies. It is your duty to ensure that the Soviet people live to see another day. Good luck, comrade.
Comrade Rokossovsky, I have always considered you a very talented officer.
Thank you for your trust, Comrade Voroshilov.
Until recently, I was planning to promote you to ComCorps rank.
Why did you change your mind, Comrade Voroshilov?
Our ever-vigilant state security has uncovered some horrific facts about you, comrade.
You have been spying for both Japan and Poland. I have signed confessions from traitors to the state that prove it. Confess your crimes.
What is this nonsense? I served the Soviet Union faithfully and honorably.
You can lie to your cellmates, Rokossovsky. You are under arrest. The punishment for high treason is death. Rokossovsky, this is your last chance. Tell us who else was in on this conspiracy of yours.
I am innocent. I am not going to falsely accuse my comrades.
You have only to sign this confession to avoid the worst consequences. Well, if you are not with us, then you are against us. Let it be on your head. Ready? Aim! Fire!
Comrade Zhukov, I have always considered you a very talented officer.
Thank you, Comrade Voroshilov.
These are troublesome times. The motherland needs more such exemplary officers.
Unfortunately, Comrade Voroshilov, as we have seen, not all exemplary officers are truly loyal to the motherland.
Comrade Zhukov, the Japanese Imperial Army has suddenly invaded our ally, the Mongolian People's Republic. They started out with some border clashes, but now they are trying to grab territory.
It is our sacred duty to protect our socialist Mongol brothers. We must teach these Japanese militarists a harsh lesson.
Comrade Zhukov, I order you to travel to Mongolia at once. Inspect our troops there. Take over operational command if necessary.
It is an honor, Comrade Voroshilov.
Good luck, comrade. I will be waiting for some good news for a change.
I also will be waiting for reports of your diligent and loyal service to the motherland, Comrade Zhukov. Ready? Aim! Fire! you will sign the confession, Rokossovsky. Or next time, we shoot you for real.
Save your breath, comrade. I won't betray my fellow officers.
We shall see, comrade. Take him back to his cell.
After the initial failures in air combat against the Japanese, the Soviet Air Force sent its best pilots and new I-16 fighter planes to reinforce its troops in Mongolia. Soon after, the Soviet pilots established air superiority. Some of the best enemy pilots were shut down.
Comrade Stalin, we have signed a treaty of non-aggression with Ribbentrop. Germany has agreed to all of our demands, including our control over the Polish territory, the Baltic states, and Finland.
Hitler clearly sees that without Soviet support, he is doomed from the beginning. He needs our oil. He will do anything to get it. Let him have it. Then Herr Hitler can make as much trouble as he wants with the English.
This agreement won't just protect us from the Nazis. It will move our border westward with minimal effort.
Comrade Stalin, we have fulfilled your directive. Our military production is greatly increased.
We need to be ready for war at any moment, Comrade Voroshilov. I hold you personally responsible.
Rest assured, our mighty proletarian army will always be ready to defeat any foe, Comrade Stalin.
We cannot trust those lying imperialists. How have the Western powers reacted to Germany's actions so far, Comrade Molotov?
Britain and France have said that if Hitler dares to invade Poland, it means war with them.
Splendid. I think our liberation of Poland can take its time. Let Hitler take the blame for invading. Comrade Voroshilov, I order you to employ our finest military commanders and forces in our Polish operation. Show the world the Red Army's might.
I already have a suitable commander in mind, Comrade Stalin. He will not let us down.
Allow me to congratulate our new neighbors.
Let me congratulate you as well, Comrade Guderian. Everything is proceeding just like our diplomats planned it.
Indeed. We just need to evacuate our damaged tanks and hand the city of Brest over to you.
I hope everything will go peacefully.
I am sure of it. Comrade Krivoshein, I would like to discuss our joint parade in Brest tomorrow.
Yes, about that. Let's not call it a parade. Why not just have a collective march with German troops moving out and Soviet moving in?
As far as I know, the initial plan was to hold a public parade. Why do you now object?
I will be delighted to salute German troops personally. Just let's not call it a parade.
Well, if you and I will be saluting our troops together, I will be more than happy to welcome our Russian friends into Brest.
Agreed. We will salute the troops together from a reviewing stand as a sign of Soviet-German solidarity.
Certainly. As far as I am concerned, you can call our parade anything you'd like.
Still, we have to discuss the details of tomorrow's collective march in Brest.
The Baltic states have become much more agreeable after they saw what happened with Poland. All three have voluntarily signed mutual assistance pacts with the Soviet Union. Now we can put our military bases in their countries. But arrogant Finland still refuses Soviet friendship. Comrade Voroshilov, report on our troops' successes liberating Finland.
Comrade Stalin, our mighty Red Army advances along the whole front line. Unfortunately, at some locations, the tempo of advance is somewhat lacking.
Voroshilov, our offensive is failing. Liberation of Finland is long overdue. You are responsible.
Comrade Stalin, I do everything possible. No man could do more. But the Finnish weather and terrain.
Enough excuses. What? What Finnish winter is worse than our Soviet winter? I order you to solve the Finnish problem at once. Otherwise, I will be looking for a new People's Commissar for Defense.
Meretskov has let me down. We will not be able to present Finland to Stalin for his 60th birthday anniversary. Such a gift to our leader would have been invaluable for Meretskov's career and his health. But his offensive has failed utterly and completely.
Comrade People's Commissar, the Mannerheim line halted our advance. The Finns are deeply dug in and they fight hard. We must admit we greatly underestimated the Finns. Their gallantry and resolve are admirable.
Zhukov, enough admiring enemies of the Soviet state. I order you, take command of Red Army forces in Finland. Occupy Finland in the shortest time possible. Fail, and your career is over. I do not think you want to end up like Rokossovsky.
You're Red Army officers, not children afraid of Finns under your bed. I do not care what we do or do not have. You will carry out my orders. You will take your objectives. Otherwise, you will answer to me. I promise you, court-martial will be the least of your problems.
Mighty Red Army has taken most of Finland. We have the capital Helsinki.
Today is a glorious day. Today, the workers of Finland are freed from capitalist oppression. Today, the Finnish Democratic Republic was born. Today, comrades, world communism has taken a step forward.
I commend Komkor Zhukov. His performance has been exemplary. His military talent, under my guidance, is what brought us victory. My decision to place him in command was the right one.
Thank you, Comrade Voroshilov. I wish to speak with Zhukov. The motherland is in dire need of talented commanders right now.
Military talent is cheap, Comrade Stalin. Nowadays, there are traitors left and right. The hard thing is to find a commander we can trust.
I think Comrade Beria can help us with this.
The NKVD stands ready. We will review cases we have opened against top army commanders. If someone, unfortunately, was wrongly accused, we will free them immediately.
Comrade, I've decided to appoint you Chief of General Staff.
Comrade Stalin, I'm grateful for your trust, but I must say, I may not be the best candidate.
This is not an offer one refuses, Comrade Zhukov.
I have no experience in general staff work. Let me serve on the front lines, leading our troops to new victories.
The Army lacks qualified general staff. I have decided. This discussion is over.
I will do my best, Comrade Stalin.
You will be set free immediately and restored to your rank and rights, Rokossovsky. The NKVD is fair. But remember, we will be watching you. Do not make us doubt your loyalty again. I suggest you repay our kindness with diligent service to the motherland.
Welcome to our Russian comrades.
Thank you for the warm reception, Herr Goering. I represent the Red Army General Staff. I would like to remind you about your promise. You said that we will be allowed to inspect the German military production facilities.
Why, of course. How could I forget that promise?
Thank you, Herr Goering. As you know, my task is to confirm Germany isn't planning any aggressions against my country.
Of course we're not. But naturally, you will receive full access to all our production plans. You may personally ascertain we're not planning anything. You will see we Germans are honest partners.
Truth be told, your latest prototypes look very interesting. For good reason, Germany is famous for its engineers.
Thank you, Herr Molotov. I'm glad that you hold German quality in such high esteem. If you want, I can sell you some sample models as a token of Germany's goodwill.
We will surely buy some of your panzers, but only to confirm our Soviet tanks are the best in the world.
Comrade Molotov, I also have a request. The Reich needs more oil. We're counting on the Soviet Union's support in this matter.
I think we can discuss an increase in shipments.
Excellent. I would like to remind you that you have a meeting with the Führer tomorrow. We will offer the Soviet Union a chance to join the great alliance of Germany, Italy, and Japan.
An alliance? That is very interesting, Herr Goering. The Soviet Union would be happy to discuss it.
We can give Hitler more oil and resources in exchange for German technology. That will keep him fighting the Brits.
What about an alliance with Germany and Japan? If we sign, it would eliminate the threat of their joint attack against us.
Join Germany and Japan in their wretched alliance? Trust those militarists? That would be stupidity of historical proportions. Do not let sweet capitalist words blind you. We must stay neutral as long as we can. I want us to enter the war at the most opportune moment.
Understood.
Let Hitler busy himself with his stupid fight against the Western Europeans. The capitalist conflict will give us the world on a silver platter.
Comrade Stalin, according to Vasilevsky's report, German tanks are inferior to our new models in all key parameters. However, they shared some useful aircraft technologies with us. We're already reverse engineering.
Good. The Red Army must modernize even more. We must be ready for war. I order you to develop a plan of attack against Germany and a covert mobilization plan. We cannot trust those Nazis.
I will start working on the plan at once.
Work quickly, Comrade Zhukov. The motherland is surrounded by vile imperialists. We must be vigilant and ready for anything.
Today at 4 a.m., without a declaration of war, German troops invaded our Soviet motherland. This unheard of attack upon our country is perfidy unparalleled in the history of civilized nations. Our courageous Army and Navy and the gallant Falcons of the Soviet Air Force shall protect the motherland and the Soviet people. We will deliver a crushing blow to these invaders. People of the Soviet Union, your government calls on you. Close ranks around our triumphant Bolshevik party and around our glorious leader, Comrade Stalin. Together, we will defend our holy soil. Our cause is just. Our enemy shall be defeated. Victory shall be ours.
The sudden invasion of Hitlerites has opened my eyes to the real state of our mighty Red Army. It had many more troops, tanks, artillery, and aircraft than the Germans, yet it suffered a crushing defeat. Our army is pathetic. That is your fault, Voroshilov.
We were betrayed by our commanders. Some put their safety above their duty and ran away. Others sent false reports. Now we have dealt with these cowards. We are reestablishing the front with our reserves. Unfortunately, mass desertion is still a problem. We need real combat leaders.
The bad officers will answer with their heads. Due to their laziness and sloppiness, the army can't fight. We're constantly retreating. If this goes on, Hitler will soon be holding a parade on the Red Square.
Comrade Stalin, do not lose heart. We need you, our great leader. Keep inspiring us to fight on.
Beria, I hold you also responsible for this tragedy. Too many of our soldiers seem reluctant to fight. They are surrendering and deserting. It's your job to keep that from happening.
Comrade Stalin, I give you my word our commissars will establish iron discipline. I have ordered special security units into the field. Their only job is to prevent retreats by machine gun if necessary. Anyone taking a step backward will be shot as a traitor.
I think your carrot and stick method lacks the carrot, Beria. Voroshilov, get your reinforcements forward. I will take the frontline situation under personal control. The day will come when Hitlerites regret they dared to challenge the Soviet people. Zhukov, give me a situation report.
3 enemy army groups are advancing on Leningrad, Moscow, and Kiev. We have managed to slow down the enemy at Kiev on the Dnieper River line, but I recommend evacuating the city and digging in on the opposite riverbank. This will give us high ground. On this new defense line, we will avoid encirclement.
You want me to give up Kiev without a fight?
If we look at the situation with cold military logic, our only option is to pull our forces out of Kiev now.
You think only about military strategy. I must think as a statesman. The Soviet state cannot surrender our ancient city Kiev without a fight. We are not cowards. Your suggestion is nonsense.
If my judgment is cowardly nonsense, then I'm no longer fit for the Chief of General Staff position. Send me to the front line. There I could serve the motherland better.
You advise, but I decide, Zhukov. I hereby appoint you to command the heroic defense of Kiev. Comrade Vasilevsky will take over for you as the Chief of General Staff. Remember, for you and for your men, retreat is not an option. One step backwards means punishment for cowardice and desertion.
Comrade Stalin, enemy troops have reached Moscow's outskirts. I think you should join the government officials who are evacuating to Kuybyshev.
Not possible, Zhukov. If I leave the capital, people will think fighting for our country is a lost cause.
It is a question of your safety. Here we can no longer guarantee it.
Zhukov, I think you would not insist if the situation was not grave. Speak frankly. Can the Red Army hold Moscow?
Comrade Stalin, the truth is we could lose Moscow.
The Communist Party of the Soviet Union will not tolerate the loss of Moscow. I know those people. Anyone, everyone, accountable for losing the capital will be shot as a traitor. Do I make myself clear, Zhukov?
Perfectly.
If the German army takes Moscow, it will be the end for you, for me, for all of us. I must stay in the Kremlin. Only if I am there will every soldier fight to the last breath for Moscow and our motherland.
Undoubtedly, Comrade Stalin. Your personal bravery in the face of danger will greatly bolster our troops' morale.
The German jackboot will not desecrate Red Square. I order to throw all available forces into the battle. Hold Moscow at any cost.
Soldiers of the Red Army have stopped the German invaders at the very doorsteps of Moscow. The ferocious battles continue, but we know one thing. Our proletarian fighters will not make a single step back. There's no doubt that our stalwart defenders will soon start a rapid counteroffensive. The Nazi invaders will be driven away from our capital. Victory is imminent. For Stalin, for the motherland.
Our Red Army continues its heroic struggle for every centimeter of Stalingrad. But our defenders are pinned down with their backs to the river. The Germans bomb them and shell them day and night.
Unacceptable. If the Germans take Stalingrad, they will cut our country into pieces and grab the Baku oil fields.
Comrade Stalin, the enemy has overextended his forces at Stalingrad. We can encircle them and strike from both flanks.
Vasilevsky, you keep forgetting one thing. We lack the forces to strike.
Do we not have enough new Lend-Lease tanks from our capitalist friends in the United Kingdom and the United States?
We do have those tanks, but they're not enough. I ask your help in getting reinforcements for this operation.
Well, we have just finished forming new Siberian divisions. They are in the Far East. I will send them by rail to Stalingrad at top priority.
Great. I think this will be a turning point. We cannot allow the city named after you, Comrade Stalin, to fall into the enemy's hands.
I have signed a special order forming combat units out of troops who tried to desert. They are called penal battalions. They will go into battle. Our anti-retreat forces will stand behind them with machine guns to make sure they defend the city to their last breath. This is our last chance to turn the tide against Germany. We must hold Stalingrad at all costs.
Our victory at Stalingrad and the elimination of the German 6th Army Group has opened a breach in the enemy defenses. We exploit that breach and take Kharkov.
Agreed. We cannot allow the Germans to recuperate. If we keep the pressure on, we can advance up to Dnieper riverbank.
Comrades, I do not think we should be so rash. We should not be dazzled by success. The Germans will close that breach soon. When they do, it will be our troops getting encircled, just like we did with the Germans at Stalingrad.
Rokossovsky, do you not understand? Right in front of me, there is a breach in the enemy defenses. If I do not exploit it, then I am no longer fit to command the Red Army forces.
Calm down, Zhukov. This is not about your career. This is about military strategy.
Sure, Vasilevsky. Go ahead, teach me about strategy.
If I were you, Zhukov, I wouldn't pass up any free lessons on a subject you clearly need to know more about.
Comrades, this is not about your personal ambitions. The fate of the motherland is at stake. As for me, considering harsh weather and difficult terrain, I see this offensive as an unnecessary folly. It may get someone a medal, but I can't see it succeeding.
Comrade Stalin's orders to me are clear. Maintain our speed of advance. I agree with him. We cannot lose precious time. Now it is our turn. Finally, we will show the Germans Russian blitzkrieg.
I dare say Russian blitzkrieg sounds more horrifying to the Russian soldiers than to the German ones.
You should think more about strategy and less about soldiers, Rokossovsky.
You seem to be learning from our great leader very quickly indeed.
I decided to double the NKVD personnel. We formed more anti-retreat units.
You seem to be a very decisive man, Beria. Revoke that order. I want you to transfer those personnel to actual army units that fight.
But, Comrade Stalin, be reasonable. We and the NKVD are having a tough time dealing with all the traitors and deserters as it is. I cannot give such an order.
That is why, Comrade Beria, I will issue this order myself. Your NKVD staff is bloated. We need more men on the front lines, especially after our recent losses.
The NKVD is tasked with keeping order in the country, including our entire front line.
Well, Beria, the latest news makes me think you and your NKVD are doing a bad job. If you want to stop retreats, just arrest the families of deserters and traitors. That will make our soldiers think twice before surrendering or being captured. Must I do your thinking for you, comrade? Or perhaps someday you will start doing it yourself. Would you care to explain our failed offensive?
I tried my best. Others doubted the feasibility of the offensive, but I carried it out despite all odds. We took Kharkov, but afterwards the offensive lost support.
Zhukov, do not blame others for your poor decisions. You did well when you insisted on an offensive, but you allowed Manstein to outsmart you. You barely escaped his trap.
Comrade Stalin, I pressed my units to the verge of collapse carrying out your orders. I did everything I could.
You are learning fast, Zhukov, but you are stubborn. You still have much to learn.
Comrade Stalin, allow me to prove my worth. Put me in command of our troops in the next battle.
Your eagerness is commendable, Zhukov. Vasilevsky will be in charge of planning the next operation. Maybe you can learn a thing or two from him.
As you command, Comrade Stalin, I will begin planning the Kursk operation at once. The German army is weak after the winter battles. Now is the time. We should renew the offensive and level the front.
The Kursk bulge is our main worry point right now. I'd bet 1,000 rubles the Germans want to cut it off and occupy it.
That is why we have to anticipate them. We must strike preemptively.
No, we don't have to do any such thing. We should reinforce our defenses and bait the Germans to attack. Our plan should be counterattack. We have a chance to use Manstein's own tactics against him.
Comrade Stalin ordered me to develop a plan for an offensive. You don't need much strategic skill to sit and wait for the Germans.
The Kharkov battles taught us quite the opposite. The way to defeat the Germans is to lure them into the trap.
I like your plan, Zhukov, but I do not think Comrade Stalin will approve it. You know better than anyone how much he loves offensives. And if you were in charge, you would be advocating an offensive too.
Let me remind both of you that I'm in charge of this operations planning. The Red Army will attack. That will be our plan.
We shall see about that.
Comrade Stalin, the attack plan is complete. We are ready to launch our Kursk offensive.
Comrade Stalin, I disagree. We're making a mistake. We should bait the German attack, wear them down, and then counterattack. We will pay them back for Kharkov.
Bold words, Comrade Zhukov. You suggest giving the enemy the initiative? But what if the Germans do not attack?
I'm sure they will. We won't really give them the initiative. It's just a ruse. We will be ready to strike at the first opportunity.
I have good news, comrades. Our agent obtained secret German plans for an offensive against the Kursk Bulge. They're calling it Operation Citadel.
I have already studied this plan. Your intuition served you well, Zhukov. Indeed, the Germans plan to cut off Kursk Bulge. We even know the exact date they will attack.
Well, in view of this fresh intelligence, I certainly can see a need to adjust our operational plans.
Agreed. Zhukov, I like your boldness and your shrewd ideas. It seems you learned a thing or two at Kharkov. You will be in charge of Kursk. You will be responsible for operational planning and implementation.
As you command, Comrade Stalin.
Comrade Zhukov, what is your plan for forcing the Dnieper River?
I think that we should postpone the crossing until next year. Winter is coming. I do not want to drown half of our troops in the icy waters of Dnieper.
That won't do. We must strike without hesitation. We must unleash proletarian fury on the capitalist enemy.
Crossing the river right now would be suicide for anyone, workers or capitalists. The river bank on the other side is steep and tall. The Germans have been fortifying it like beavers.
I don't care about the Germans. You are our best strategist. It is your job to think of something to make this work.
Even if we somehow succeed, our losses would be massive. Why all the haste?
Kiev must be taken before the October Revolution anniversary. Such a victory will greatly boost the morale of all Soviet people.
I see. It's politics. Comrade, as a military professional, I recommend taking Kiev next year. Now we need to concentrate on relieving Leningrad.
Zhukov, I will not tolerate a repetition of our mess in Finland. The Kiev offensive will be completed in time, with or without you in command.
Yes. Comrade People's Commissar.
Georgy, how could you agree to Varshilov's folly? That useless People's Commissar will do anything to remain on Stalin's good side. He couldn't care less about casualties.
Well, at least the operation was concluded swiftly and we reached all our objectives.
Yes, but only at the cost of massive losses of material and men.
Konstantin, with all due respect to our fallen soldiers, military professionals like you and I must distance ourselves. We must think in strategic terms.
If ignoring our losses makes one a strategist, then that's not me. 500,000 soldiers dead and a full million wounded. How is that a magnificent October Revolution anniversary present to the Soviet people?
Indeed, the losses are huge. But if we had waited, Germany would have had another 6 months to prepare, and we still would have had to attack. Our losses could have been even bigger.
Georgy, you have a very flexible mind. First you were against this operation, and now you are inventing excuses for it.
Varshilov did not exactly seek my advice. I had to compromise on some principles.
That is not the Zhukov I knew. The old Zhukov would have stood his ground against a party hack no matter what. Is your career worth millions dead and wounded?
It's not like I had a choice. Anyone crossing the People's Commissar faces arrest and imprisonment. You of all people know what Comrade Beria and his lapdogs can do to an honest soldier.
Yes, NKVD can torture you to death. They tried to make me betray my comrades in arms and my principles. I was just lucky they didn't execute me. Do you know why I always carry a pistol with me ever since my imprisonment? If they try to arrest me again, they won't take me alive. Georgi, you can excuse your actions because you feared arrest if you want. I still think you made a huge mistake. But in any case, the lives we lost, you will have to live with that for the rest of your life.
We're ready to begin the Leningrad offensive. We can finally lift the enemy blockade of the city.
Our forces still hold several key positions in and around the city. That will help us greatly.
Zhukov, do you think you can keep the high tempo of advance like you did during the Kiev offensive?
Certainly, but we will take higher losses. Did Comrade Voroshilov give you my detailed report? I advise a more cautious approach this time.
I have just come back from Tehran. I was in conference with our British and American allies. The decisive victories at Kursk and Kiev have greatly strengthened our diplomatic position. The Reich's downfall is imminent. Now the question is how to share the spoils of victory.
Indeed. The Tehran conference was a great success. But if we want our share of Europe, we must speed up our offensive.
There are limitations as to how fast our troops can advance.
I did not see such problems when the Wehrmacht attacked us in the summer of 1941, Vasilevsky. Zhukov will carry out this operation. He is the only general we have who fights without letting sentiment get in the way.
Thank you for your trust, Comrade Stalin. I will begin as soon as I get the approval of Comrade People's Commissar.
Forget about Voroshilov. You have my approval. That is enough. This meeting is adjourned. Comrade Voroshilov, how would you rate your performance as People's Commissar for Defense?
In my 18 years of service, I created a modern and powerful Red Army out of the ragtag troops we started with in the Civil War. We had some setbacks in 1941, but now we are winning the war. I would rate my efforts as satisfactory.
Indeed. But you know, I think 18 years is too long for anyone to serve in a position as difficult as yours. Also, I want to concentrate all military decisions in a single place. We must reduce bureaucracy.
I am not sure I follow, Comrade Stalin.
I have decided to take over as People's Commissar for Defense. This will ensure better communications and faster decision-making.
Is this because of the disasters in summer 1941?
We are all responsible for that failure to some degree, Voroshilov. You are a seasoned and loyal party member. Fear not. You will go on serving the country.
Thank you for your kind words, Comrade Stalin.
I hereby appoint you the head of the Trophy Committee. In view of our recent successes, the motherland needs a trustworthy person to oversee all the European trophies that our army will capture in its future offensives in countries richer than ours.
Comrade Stalin, you really should not burden yourself with the People's Commissar position. It's mostly a lot of paper pushing. You have your hands full as it is, in my view. The motherland needs your brilliant mind for more serious tasks.
It seems you are reluctant to serve the motherland as she sees necessary. Be careful, Voroshilov. Someone might mistake your concerns for empire building or even disloyalty to the state. The time has come to restore our pre-war borders. Brief me on the operational plans.
Our main goal is to crush the Army Group Center and to advance as far as Warsaw. We will launch several distracting attacks and one main offensive.
Comrade Stalin, I am sure we will do much better if we attack in two main directions at once.
Rokossovsky, what are you thinking? Splitting our forces into two will take away numerical advantage at the key point. That makes no sense.
Calm down, Zhukov. Rokossovsky, please explain.
It's the terrain. Where we want to make our main attack, the ground won't allow us to deploy all our forces in a single direction. If we want to take full advantage of our numerical superiority, we need to split our forces and attack from two directions.
Rokossovsky, splitting our forces goes against all military principles, you know that.
On the contrary, We will overwhelm the enemy with attacks from multiple directions. The fascists are weak. They cannot fight in two directions at once, but the Red Army can. We have the skill and numbers to do it. That is my point.
With all due respect, Rokossovsky, no army gets anywhere dissipating its forces.
Zhukov, stop arguing. I am sure our dear Konstantin has very serious reasons to be so insistent. I order you to heed his ideas. We will attack in two directions.
Understood, Comrade Stalin.
My congratulations, Comrade Stalin. Thanks to your strategic genius, we have scored yet another brilliant victory.
Thank you, Comrade Molotov. The Army Group Center is no more. Our soldiers are advancing into Poland and the Baltic states as liberators from the Nazi regime.
Hitler ordered his troops not to retreat. That made their defeat even worse. The Nazi regime is on its last legs. Germany can't fight much longer.
The Allied landings in France have also played to our advantage. Hitler's scarce resources are spread even more thinly.
The only thing left for him is to try and make a separate peace with Britain and the United States.
They hate communists, but Roosevelt and Churchill would never make peace with the Nazis. The Anglo-Saxons will agree only to unconditional surrender.
If Hitler seriously thinks anyone would enter into any sort of treaty with him, he has gone mad.
True. I'm sure neither Churchill nor Roosevelt would ever shake hands with that madman. No one has forgotten Hitler's lies. Allied forces are having a tough time. The Germans have launched a counteroffensive through the Ardennes. If we can start our next offensive sooner, that would divert German troops away from the Americans and the British. This will be beneficial when I meet with the Allied leaders for talks in Yalta.
Comrade Stalin, the German positions are heavily fortified. We should not rush this offensive.
Rokossovsky, what do you think?
I also favor giving our troops a short break. They have been fighting hard for a long time.
I think you are forgetting about the weather. The spring thaw is coming. If you want to keep the Red Army from bogging down in the mud, I recommend haste.
It seems an immediate offensive will kill two birds with one stone.
4 birds, actually. The more territory the Red Army occupies before the Yalta talks, the better. And do not forget, a break for us means respite, and more time to dig in for the enemy as well.
Indeed. Your logic is impeccable as always, Comrade Stalin.
Zhukov, I order you to accelerate preparations. Attack as soon as possible.
The Yalta Conference between Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin was an event that laid down the foundations of the post-war reorganization of Europe. After the conference, the collective photo was taken to show the entire world the camaraderie and unity of the Big Three. The Wehrmacht has launched an offensive in the Lake Balaton sector, despite the direct threat to Berlin.
The German panzers will run out of fuel without the Hungarian oil fields. They have no choice but to protect them. This will probably be the great German Reich's last breath.
Perhaps, Comrade Stalin, but the German beast still has fight in him. They have heavy tank concentrations in this area.
Indeed. They had transferred some of their tank troops from the Western Front to the Balaton sector.
Have you fielded many of those Lend-Lease Sherman tanks?
We have, yet I must say that our modern Soviet tanks are much better, and our troops will be facing King Tigers.
How do you plan to deal with this threat, Zhukov?
The German attack will be desperate. Our best course of action will be to stay on the defensive, let the enemy exhaust his resources, and then finish him and his King Tigers off.
We will make up for our lack of tanks with artillery and aircraft.
Good. Zhukov, I give you operational freedom. I expect a quick and decisive victory. I want our offensive renewed soon. We must press on all fronts.
We have to protect our main force advancing at Berlin from flank attack. We must take Königsberg and eliminate the German army located in East Prussia.
The Germans have heavily fortified their positions. We will need massive artillery and air bombardment to soften them up.
Indeed. I suggest we advance on Königsberg from both the north and the south. Our troops will fully encircle the city. Its defenders will not last long after we cut it off from the rest of the troops.
It seems you thought your plan through well, Vasilevsky. Fine. We will proceed as you suggest. And what about the evacuation of the trophies we captured?
My men will finish loading the trains today.
Those trophies hold huge cultural and historical value. We have to make sure we ship them intact.
Yes, Comrade Zhukov.
One more thing. I have a special list of particularly valuable articles that must be delivered separately to another location back home. There are gold ingots, ancient sculptures, and irreplaceable pieces of art. I hope your men can guarantee the safe transport of those things.
My men are trustworthy. You should not worry. I personally picked them. The items you speak of will be loaded onto a special train.
You know, I think it would be better if I were on hand during the loading. I think my presence will help keep our soldiers from accidentally losing any valuable items. In fact, I think I will supervise this personally.
At Stalin, the glorious day has arrived. Our troops stand ready to assault the Nazi nest, Berlin.
I have decided that Zhukov will take Berlin. He must occupy it before the Allies.
But, Comrade Stalin, my troops are much closer. Almost no German forces oppose them.
Rokossovsky, your troops will guard Zhukov's right flank. His troops will capture Berlin.
Why the favoritism towards Zhukov? Comrade Stalin, you know the situation. My troops can take Berlin much more easily and with less bloodshed.
Nothing personal, Konstantin. It's just politics. Berlin will be taken by the Russian officer.
My mother was Russian, and my father was a Pole. Is that the reason I cannot take Berlin?
Enough argument. Zhukov is our most famous commander. In these modern times, we have to think about public images. For Zhukov to succeed, you will do your part. Cover Zhukov's right flank.
Fear not, Comrade Stalin. I am a soldier and I follow orders. The Red Army will have victory. That is the main thing.
Comrade Stalin, we have uncovered very shameful facts about our Marshal Zhukov.
You have my attention, Beria.
My men have evidence that Zhukov's enthusiasm for war trophies has led to a giant criminal conspiracy for his personal benefit. We have proof that the supposed battlefield trophies Zhukov sent home actually were 70 valuable golden objects, 740 pieces of silverware, 30 kilograms of other silver items, 50 handmade tapestries, over 60 world-class paintings, more than 3,700 meters of silk, and 320 fur garments. And this is not an exhaustive list.
Huh. It seems our Marshal of Victory is infatuated with bourgeois materialism. This is, of course, despicable behavior for a Soviet citizen.
I recommend Zhukov be arrested at once and court-martialed. This will serve as a lesson to everyone.
Perhaps. But Zhukov is our best commander. Let him finish the Manchuria operation. We will deal with his greediness when the war is over.
Zhukov has betrayed communist ideals. The party must hold him accountable to it.
His guilt is indisputable. It seems his successes went to his head. He thinks he is a great captain. I call it Bonapartism. Well, Zhukov is a Soviet citizen like the rest of us. We will bring him back to Earth. Zhukov, I have always considered you the most talented of all Soviet marshals. Let me thank you for your commendable service.
I'm deeply touched, Comrade Stalin. It warms my heart that the years of my loyal service to the state have not gone unnoticed.
Our agents report that the United States is considering dropping atomic bombs on Japanese cities.
Well, if that bomb really works, then the Japanese will have no other choice but to surrender.
Then what happens after that? I am worried that our Anglo-Saxon allies will convert defeated Japan into a new ally against us. You have fought these Japanese. You can see we must eliminate them from the Asian continent.
Indeed, if the imperialists rearm Japan, they could attack the Soviet Union from the east.
That is why we must take Manchuria from the Japanese immediately. We must demonstrate to the Western countries the might of the Red Army in Asia. Zhukov, how is it that you were involved in the looting? Why do you even need all that garbage that we found in your possession?
I feel very bad about that, Comrade Stalin. You're right. I shouldn't have collected all that useless bourgeois junk and put it into a warehouse. I just thought no one would need all that stuff anymore. But I swear, as a Bolshevik, that I will not make such a mistake in the future. Rest assured, I still wholeheartedly serve the motherland, the party, and the great Comrade Stalin.
Well said, Comrade Zhukov. I hope that you will keep your word. You are hereby removed from the High Command. I appoint you commander of the Odessa Military District. While you are there on the Black Sea, you will have plenty of time to think about how to serve the motherland better. You are appointed the Chief of General Staff.
Thank you for your trust, Comrade Stalin.
Bear in mind, various men will check you thoroughly. The trophy affair has put all of the Army High Command under suspicion.
I will do whatever it takes to ensure you never have to doubt my loyalty, Comrade Stalin. Trophies are not for me. I only want to serve the motherland.
We liberated Poland, but the Polish people repay us only with suspicion. Rokossowski, you are hereby appointed the Polish Minister of National Defense and Marshal of Poland. Travel to Warsaw. Impose order on the Poles.
I am a foreigner to them. The Russians consider me a Pole, but the Polish people consider me a Russian.
So who do you consider yourself to be, Rokossowski?
I have always considered myself a Soviet officer.
Then the Polish people will respect you even more, especially Poles that don't want to move to Siberia. Keep the Poles in check. You know better than most what can happen if a Pole does not behave.
The United States keeps pressing on Poland. The Yalta Agreement is open to multiple interpretations. Now the Yankees want sovereign democracy in Poland.
That's all window dressing. All those German divisions that surrendered and were dissolved, Churchill ordered them reestablished under Allied command. Now the Anglo-Saxons are getting ready to attack us along with their new friends, the Germans.
The United States President asks us to show goodwill as allies, but at the same time they threaten us with their atomic bomb.
It seems that our allies have finally decided to drop the facade. Now they show their true colors. The Soviet state will not be intimidated. We will give them the answer they deserve. I will bring back Zhukov and ask him to plan a Soviet offensive into Western Europe. The objective will be France.
Comrade Stalin, we cannot put a criminal at the head of our forces in Europe. Is it wise even to consider attacking Allied forces in France and Germany if they can drop an atomic bomb on our heads?
Calm down, Beria. American bombers can't reach Moscow if we take their French airfields. In any case, the Soviet state is strong. The enemy will need much more than bombs to destroy it.
Your words frighten me, Comrade Stalin. I advise strongly against such foolhardy moves.
Instead of advising me, you should have ensured the Soviet Union had its own atomic bomb. That failure is your direct responsibility.
We have the data. Our agents infiltrated the Manhattan Project, and we have all the Yankees' blueprints. But it will take years to build production facilities. The Soviet Union needs time. We should draw out negotiations with the West until we have our atomic bomb.
Again, you disappoint me, Beria. Time is what we do not have. The Soviet bomb is a matter of life or death for us. You make me think that I would be better off entrusting this vital task to highly accomplished Voroshilov.
Let me personally express my admiration for our glorious hero of the Soviet Union, Marshal Zhukov.
I did not expect your visit, Comrade Beria, but I must say it is a pleasant surprise.
I hope you do not hold grudges over that military trophy affair. I hope you know that I tried to stop the investigation. It was just silly, accusing a soldier of looting for just a few well-earned memorabilia. And you know, of course, that it was Stalin that decided to bring you down to earth. Fortunately, I have always supported you, and eventually, I convinced Stalin to bring you back.
I am highly grateful to you, Comrade Beria. Comrade Stalin was quick to forget my achievements. Well, that was an unpleasant accident. Thanks to your wise counsel, Comrade Stalin has reconsidered.
Comrade Zhukov, owing to your strategic genius, our victorious Red Army has taken most of Europe. No one can stop us. I think this has clouded Comrade Stalin's mind. It could lead him to fatal mistakes. I fear our leader underestimates the United States and its military power.
Do you really question Stalin's judgment, Comrade Beria?
Facts are facts. He ignored my warning about the threat of an atomic bombing. Now he wants a war with the Western powers. We cannot possibly win. He has never cared about losing men. He is different from you in this way, Zhukov.
I did what I could to minimize our losses. You know that.
Comrade Zhukov, we both know that attacks disregarding losses were always Stalin's idea. Voroshilov was just his lapdog. The question now is, where are the bounds of Stalin's cruelty? Is he ready to sacrifice all the people of the Soviet Union for the sake of his own ambitions?
It is hard for me to imagine that the Americans would drop atomic bombs on our motherland. Still, they did it to the Japanese. The threat to us is real.
I'm glad that we're of the same opinion on this matter. It is hard to imagine what could happen in a worst-case scenario, but we have to be ready.
The city of Kiev has suffered an atomic bombing. The capital of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic and the most ancient of our cities is no more. The United States has also tried to bomb Kharkiv, but our valiant Air Force has shut down the enemy's super fortress bombers.
We have no more time to negotiate with the Western powers. War has begun. They have the bomb and we do not. The worst has happened.
Joseph, that was not the worst. The worst is at our doorstep. Kiev was just the first blow. The only way to avoid more is to negotiate.
No, now is not the time for negotiating. The wrath of the Soviet people will be overwhelming. Zhukov, you must prepare a swift invasion. We must purge Italy of Allied troops.
The American superfortresses that attacked Kiev flew from Italian bases. Our soldiers are ready to fight. They want to avenge Kiev and the people who died there.
Zhukov, I order you to attack. We must not sit and wait for American bombers to arrive in Moscow.
Stalin is adamant about the war with the United States. He says we must respond harshly to the bombing of Kiev.
This unprecedented act of cruelty towards civilians must not be left unpunished.
Of course. But should we continue this new large-scale war, losing even more lives? Our armies are at a disadvantage. We have to use diplomacy. We must win time for our bomb to be finished.
Indeed, America is a powerful adversary. We should choose our strategy carefully.
I am sure we need a peace treaty with Western powers. The Soviet Union needs a break. We must rest and restore our forces.
You're right, Comrade Beria. A break from constant war would be good for everyone.
Of course, the final battle with Western imperialists is inevitable. Yet I would rather fight it when we are more evenly matched.
Our headquarters are developing plans of further war against the United States and Britain.
Zhukov, I am sure that your wisdom will let you see the truth. Stalin has completely lost his sense of reality. If only I were in his place, I would have ended this war in one day.
Are you suggesting we overthrow our leader, Comrade Beria?
His countless crimes call for a death sentence. He must be arrested and court-martialed. You will become the People's Commissar for Defense. Together, we will end this horrible war. We must bring the Soviet people happier lives.
It seems we have no other choice if we want our motherland to survive. But I require some time to make all the necessary arrangements.
Stop dawdling. We must take the British Islands before the United States can mount a renewed atomic bombing campaign.
It seems you have finally realized what horrific threat we're dealing with. Too bad we had to lose Kiev to learn that.
Yes, Zhukov, the threat is real. Yet I think we should negotiate from a position of strength. We must occupy Britain, ensure the safety of our cities, and only then do we talk with the capitalists.
Comrade Beria thinks we should begin negotiations at once. Many other high-ranking officials are of the same opinion.
They are cowards. Comrade Beria and his followers should mind their own business. If I had listened to Beria, you would have been executed for the trophy case. Why should I listen to him now?
I figured as much.
There is much more for you to figure out, Georgi. Especially about your Comrade Beria.
Still, there are many who support the idea of immediate peace.
Nonsense. They are just weak. Kiev frightened them, but war means death. There are moments, Georgi, that I really feel like I am the only sane person in the Kremlin. I need your help. Do you remember the siege of Moscow?
Of course I do. I asked you to leave the city. You refused.
Exactly. All these cowards have long since fled the city. and this cause seemed lost. Yet we won then. Trust me, Georgi, we will win this time as well.
Do not worry, Comrade Stalin. We surely will.
Well, I cannot say this came as a surprise. I was just wondering who would show up first.
Comrade Stalin, do you understand why we came here?
I do. When one ceases to act reasonably, and one's thirst for power clouds his mind, it often leads to dire consequences.
Then I do not have to explain to you what comes next.
You know, Beria, I feel like something was clouding my judgment. But now I have realized how wrong I was.
Comrade Stalin, Comrade Beria wants to remove you from power because you refused peace negotiations. He asked the army to support him.
Zhukov, do you also think that my decisions were wrong? Do you think I should be removed?
Sometimes, Comrade Stalin, we had very different views on military strategy. Yet there is one thing we both know is truly intolerable. That is treachery.
Comrade Beria, you know better than anyone what the penalty is for high treason.
Comrade Beria, you're under arrest. As the new People's Commissar for Defense, I declare, while imperialism is living through its last days, communist ideas will prevail. The Soviet Union is the world's bastion of freedom and peace. Our cause is just. Glory to the great Soviet Union led by our great leader, Comrade Stalin. World communism is not far off. Proletarians of all countries, unite!